Beat him senseless.
You and me and you, we gonna throw down. That's right, we gonna get serious.
You can run, but you can't hide.
It's time for the Fuller Broadcast with your host, Jeff Fuller.
Welcome to the Full Broadcast Mania. We are live. We talk about combat sports around the world. We talk to fighters from BKFC, Bellator, UFC, any street beast fight, MMA fighters anywhere around the world. We talk about their careers and whatnot. Even we talk to Cutwoman, Cutman, ring announcers, you name it. We get them on our shows. We talk about it. And welcome my co-host Zachary. And now we're going to bring Cutwoman that works numerous fights around the states to stitch up fighters, anybody that needs help. Right now she's up here to talk about her career and something that she's got coming up, which is a new promotion that she's going to be working for. So let's bring on Morgan.
Hey.
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
We're good. How about you?
I am perfect. I'm great. I'm happy to be here.
Okay. So before we get into your career, let's talk a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do.
Well, as far as what I do as a Cutwoman, or as far as what I do on the daily grind?
Like throughout your, like what you do during the day and on weekends, Cutwoman. I mean, what got you where you're at right now?
Okay, well, I started about maybe 16 years ago, somewhere around in there. I've always been around fighting. My dad was the champion of underground fighting back in 72 when it was illegal to fight. And that was back at the farmer's market in Oklahoma, which now they have legal fights there all the time with Rage in the Cage. But I have all four brothers, we all fought each other, of course, not in regular fight per se, shows or anything like that, of course. But anyhow, so my dad was a fighter. We grew up around the fight scene. I took a path into the medical field and kind of didn't have anything to do with fighting so much. Of course, girls couldn't fight back then. But then I thought, well, hey, here's, I can still be in the fight industry, helping fighters through the medical field. I did a lot of body work. I was a massage therapist as well. I did a lot of therapeutic body work and sports massage and things like that with athletes, so that I can work with fighters that way. And then also as a cut man, because I'm used to having my arms up to my elbows in people's guts every day doing surgery. So a little, blood from fights and cuts was nothing to me. And so I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do. Well, I was very shocked and surprised to find out that nobody would talk to me when I tried to get into it. I tried hitting up other cutmen and they're like, no, this is a boys club, basically, is what it was. It's in the name, Cutman. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I basically taught myself until one person actually spoke to me, gave me the time of day, and that was Stitch. So Stitch was kind of my mentor through it all, way back when, and helped me a lot. When I did surgery and stuff, I kind of specialized in orthopedic surgery. So wrapping for stability and stuff, I already had that down because of that background. And then learning from Stitch's techniques, got that. And then I kind of altered it to my own techniques, doing multiple freebies, which you do when you're starting out. You just wrap anybody right. That'll let you wrap them. I have itty bitty wraps from my grandkids that I would just wrap them just to practice wrapping. And so you do a lot of, in the trenches kind of work, building yourself up, building your skills up until you do enough good work and people will notice you. And it took a long time, but that's what I did.
Now, whenever you wrap hands, do you prefer to wrap thumb in or thumb out?
I prefer to wrap the thumb, and I get a lot of people that say they don't want their thumb wrapped. And if they're adamant, I won't, but I usually tell them, okay, let me wrap your thumb. If you don't like it, I'll cut it off.
Yep.
And I've never had to cut one off yet.
That's exactly what Craig says every single time, down verbatim. Exactly. Like, he'll tell you, I wrap a certain way, and if you don't like the way that I wrap it, I can adjust it once it's done. But, like, I'm not going to sit here and try to finagle it to make it the way that you think it needs to be when I've done this 10,000 times.
Right.
Yeah,
Craig and I have worked together. I know Craig's wraps.
Yeah.
He knows my wraps.
Yeah.
And because, a lot of times these fighters have been just wrapped by anybody. And so they really don't know what a quality wrap's like. So half the time, getting their circulation cut off to them is normal. They don't get it, or it's like, don't wrap my thumb because it's all pinched and stuff. Well, that's not a good wrap. That's not how it's supposed to be.
They're used to having people wrap the wrists so tight that they can't bend like this at all. And like, that's you see people get caught in that arm bar and then their wrist is just toast.
Right. And they think automatically, if you wrap my thumb, I can't get a good grip. And it's like, nope. I promise you, if you don't like it and you can't grip my arm when I'm done, I will cut it off for you. And every time they're like, oh, wow, I've never felt this. This is really cool.
Yeah, it's complete different aspect. It's coming from a fighter. It's a complete different aspect having, just boxing wraps that you do at the gym versus having somebody who professionally wraps your hands, wrap your hands. Because if you have that person that wraps your hands, you can walk up and punch a brick wall and walk away and your hand will not shatter.
Yeah.
It's all about the way that the technique is done and the intertwining with the fingers. And it's a whole, it's a whole in itself, really.
It's an art. It's basically an art, and you're building a cast. And a lot of people, after I wrap their hands, when I take them off, they have me cut them a certain way. That way they will take them back to the gym with them and use them in the gym practicing. They'll just retape the two cut. Well, it's actually just one cut right here, and they'll just retape
right
the
at
wrist.
the middle right there, and then they take that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you've got a good solid wrap, they can reuse it multiple times. Not in a fight, of course, but in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah, you can use that wrap multiple times in the gym. And one thing that I like to do that I figured out is if you go and when you're wrapping yourself, if you count everything as you do it, it becomes a number method. You'll be like 1, 3, 7, 5, 4, in your head, and you'll be thinking that as you're coming around and as you're doing it. And being a cut person such as yourself, you've wrapped so many hands that like that's probably a song you think in your head back and forth.
For me, it's not. For you, it is, because you're only wrapping your hand. You know your injuries. You know your hands. For me, everybody has different injuries. Everybody has different styles. So I custom wrap their hand to each individual fighter. It's never exactly the same.
Definitely.
I mean, you have your basic wrap, but every time I wrap their hands, I'm like, okay, what style fighter you are? What kind of injuries do you have? That kind of thing, because I change it up according to their hands and their injuries.
Right. And that makes perfect sense because,
and the size of their hands.
Yeah. Just like you said, that's a custom cast basically. Yeah. And the size of the hands has a lot to do with it. I fight at 155 pounds. I wear an XL or 2XL glove. So it's a little bit different being, in a smaller weight class and having big boulders for hands, because people kind of look at you and they're like, it doesn't fit.
Right. And the opposite as well. Like, I'm a pretty stout woman. I've got tiny hands. I've got tiny wrists. And they're like, we don't know how you haven't broke your wrist yet.
And you see fighters like that. Yeah. The fighters like that. Big heavyweights.
You gotta give them stability on their wrists.
Yeah. You'll see a big heavyweight with a medium-sized glove. And I'm like, oh, buddy. And you wonder because they're so big, they're so strong that you know that rap is doing its job in there. If they're not coming back after every round talking about, man, I think I shattered something every time they punch somebody, you know, because, you know, that rap, it's a cast. As we said, that's a die cast of your arm in a punch. So it's supposed to brick out the way and come back the same way. And, you know, with the way that you're saying and such, when you do a quality rap, yeah, it can be reused multiple times for, you know, bag purposes and gym purposes.
Right.
Yeah, I fully agree. So what is your favorite aspect of your job as a cut woman? Like, is it the camaraderie with the other individuals, the fighters? Is it, you know, knowing that you could potentially save a fight from being over by your work on the side, or is there just other motivationals that draw you?
Well, I've actually had, I think Craig and Sid were both there at that fight when I my skills won a fight for a fighter. That was Marcus Surza's fight against Thiago Silva from the UFC in St. Louis. Thiago split his head like right here down almost to the bone right above his eye. And at that time, the doctor didn't know me at all. And the doctor was like, it was right when the bell rang. And the doctor was going to stop the fight. And I'm like, wait a minute, give me my 60 seconds. I got this. And then he's like, and I'm like, no, give me my 60 seconds. I got this. I promise you. Just give me my 60 seconds. And he's like, all right. You know, kind of just like, whatever. Who's this chick? And so I'm working on Marcus going, dude, use your elbows. I'm going to stop the bleeding. He's going to keep the fight going. But you got to drop him and use your elbows. If you don't know when, we're going to yell it out for you. End this fight quick. I'm going to keep you in there so you can win this fight. And sure enough, I got the bleeding stopped. And everybody's like, holy shit, she did it. And he says, okay, then I'm going to let the fight go. He let it go. And in that next round, Marcus dropped him and won the fight with his elbows. So that just goes to show you, if you have a good cut man that knows what they're doing and can stop the bleeding and keep you in the fight safely, they can make or break your fight for you.
That is most definitely true. I mean, even at the top of the highest, from the lowest to the lowest levels, I mean, you see it every day. A guy will eat even just a jab, and the next thing you know, he's got a cut right here, and then he eats 4 more jabs, and then his eyebrow's gone. You know?
Yeah, and it's more of unintentional headbutts than anything that cause the worst cuts. And then you bet your bottom dollar that's where your opponent's targeting.
Yeah,
to take you out
whenever they come in, or even whenever they try to clinch. I see that a lot in MMA.
Oh yeah, they'll start
most
doing
of
this
the time.
shit.
It's right here. It's right here to right here. So you know, a half an inch up. What do you got? Teeth. Mm-hmm. So you know, I've seen personally myself fights where, you know, guys get hit. You know, mouthpiece comes out, shoots in, gets a takedown, boom, teeth right into the top of the head. You know, and I mean, sometimes it'll bust your teeth off, but other times it'll just tear your flesh all to shreds. And that's like in bare knuckle. I see, you know, you'll see a guy get hit, boom, there goes his mouthpiece. Well, that next shot's coming right back to the same spot. There's no mouthpiece to protect your hand from those teeth.
Yep.
And it's, sometimes you see it and it's like, you ate a whole tooth to the knuckle. You ate a whole tooth to the knuckle, and it's deep.
That's my favorite, bare knuckle. And that's one of the things that you were asking about what I love. And that's what I love about bare knuckles, because I love testing my skills. We don't watch fights like most people watch fights. The way we watch fights is we're basically game planning in our head, triaging injuries in our head. What we're going after first. And when you have a fighter that's got a hematoma here, a cut here, a cut here, a cut over here, a busted lip, all in one round, it's like you're okay. You figure out which one you have to address first, which one's more important, which one can stop the fight. I mean, and you've only got 45 seconds to do it. You have 60 seconds in between rounds, but you've got to figure the time it takes for you to actually get to the fighter. And then a lot of times they're moving around and stuff. So you're like, you got to hold them still. I've had to yell at a fighter to like hold still because they're like all over the place sometimes. But yeah, you have about 45 seconds to stop all that and get them back in the fight.
Now, as a cut person, would you say that swelling is more detrimental or an actual bleeding wound is more detrimental in the doctor's eyes?
It depends on the
physician.
It depends on the doctors, and because these smaller promotions, sometimes I'll get a dang podiatrist in there as their cage side doctor, or OBGYN, or some stupid crap like that. So it depends on the doctor. Usually before a fight, I'll go introduce myself to the doctor and tell him who I am, what my medical background is, etc. And a lot of times they'll rely on that. If it's especially like a podiatrist or something, they'll rely on you. Like in Oklahoma, those doctors know me very well, and they don't even come in unless I give them the signal, hey, come check this out.
Isn't that a leg doctor? Isn't that a leg doctor, like knees and stuff? A podiatrist?
That's a foot doctor.
Oh, Lord.
Now, that's not Oklahoma. That's not the doctors in Oklahoma that I work with. They're good, real doctors. But our relationship,
with an MD
together,
they're giving anybody with an MD that position, basically.
Some of these little promotions, yeah.
Oh no!
Anybody that's an MD can be a ringside doctor or cage side doctor.
Oh wow! I guess you just have to be able to do the medicals and physical doctor stuff, right?
Yeah, because when you go to med school, you got to learn. You go through all that stuff. You have to be able to stitch. You got to do all that. Then you go into your specialty, and some go into podiatry, some go to OBGYN. I mean, yeah. So some of these smaller promotions, they'll just get whatever doctor they can.
They just call the local hospital and they're like, "Hey, could I have a list of your doctors that aren't on call tonight?"
Well, it's usually somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody and likes fights and wants to go. But,
he's like, "Hey, my brother's buddy's cousin's a doctor," and he's like, "Can you get him down here?"
I've seen that. They've asked me in Arkansas to get a doctor. I'm like, yeah.
Oh,
right. Working with surgeons and stuff, for so long, and I taught the Surge Tech program at NTI for 10 years.
I mean, I've seen incompetent ambulance staffs at shows and stuff before, but I've never really seen an incompetent ringside doctor. I take that back. At a boxing show, I did see an incompetent ringside doctor, but he was like 87 years old. So you can't really say that he was incompetent. He was just mentally shaken because he's so old.
I wasn't there, but my apprentice was there. And I saw a doctor trying to staple somebody's head in the cage.
Oh,
I was like, are you kidding me?
I mean, I went into the back and I think I had my eye stitched one time up here. And then I had, as we discussed earlier with the eating teeth, I ate a fella's teeth right here one time. And I think I had to get 6 stitches in my chin and 2 staples. I want to say something like that. That was, and the great part about that is they did provide that service free backstage, but you have to wait until everything is taken care of and everything is finished. But they do provide those services generally backstage, and a lot of promotions, whether or not they're big or small, they have somebody on staff who's legit that can, take care of you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what kind of doctor you are. They all know how to stitch because they went through medical school.
Yeah.
When I first started out, I thought, I'll make myself available to suture. I can stitch these guys because I do. I mean, that's what I did, And then I thought, hell no, what am I doing this for? I don't get paid the kind of money these doctors get paid, and I'm liable for this. Forget that. I'm not suturing nobody.
Right. Right. That makes total sense. I mean, and I've seen guys where they go and they'll eat a shot that is right here in the corner of the eye. And I've seen them doctors backstage go, "Dude, I'm not stitching that. That's too close to your eye. You have to let that heal." And they're like, "Huh?" And it's like, you've got a chunk the size of a fingernail missing out of your forehead right here where it's just gone. from eating a knee or something. And there's nothing left to bring that back. And
probably because they probably should just go to
I
the
would
hospital.
have to show you the picture of it. I would have to show you the picture of it. The guy ate a knee and it took a hole. And I mean, when I say a hole, they stopped the fight because the whole corner of his eyebrow right here was completely gone. It looked like, just like my fingernail right here, he had a hole in his head that was hematomaed on top of that. So
they
it was
just sent him to.
Yeah, it was bad. He ate one knee.
Did they send him to the hospital?
They sent him to I want to say they sent him to St. Louis Memorial immediately after.
It can be closed, but not by fights.
He was bleeding very, very heavily, and it was one knee, just one well-placed knee. Guy went to, buck down to change position because he had another fighter up against the cage. Guy against the cage slams him with a knee, dropped him right there. And I mean, as soon as he dropped him, it was just pouring. And there was no stop. There was no stop to that bleeding. They had hands over the guy's face, and it was bad. It was bad. I've only ever seen very few cuts that like they just super glue you. They just super glue you, and they're like, you have got to get to the ER right now. Yeah. And I've only seen that a very few times, but when you do, it's really, really bad.
Yeah,
really, really bad. I mean, I've seen people lose teeth. Hell, I've lost my teeth. But when you get your jaw broken or something, you get a Junior Dos Santos where your nose is completely like this on your face and it's boiled open. I mean, that as a fighter, we want to continue to fight, but as a cut man or a ringside individual, you guys really do kind of have that, hey, bro, I can't fix that. Right. I can't fix that. So you have to either protect yourself or they stop. And I've seen a few different situations where I feel like, maybe the guy was defending himself, but like he's fighting against a higher caliber fighter and he's just continually getting tagged. But I mean, he's defending himself. So they just kind of let him go and he gets hamburgered. Yep. And it's one of those things where like, at the flip of a coin, anything could happen. But, you see this guy just progressively going farther and further and further down the hill and slipping further and further away, eating not just one shot in an exchange, but 2, 3, 4 sometimes now because he's impeded from blood or impeded from swelling or whatever. How do you deal with that whenever he comes into the corner and they're like, you got to fix this or we're going to stop the fight? Like how does that transpire in your processings?
You do your best to fix it. I mean, are you talking about the swelling and bleeding just keeps coming on? I'm trying to.
Yeah. Like if it's just to the point to where the referee says, I need the doctor to come in here and look at this. And the doctor tells you in between rounds, you have to do something to your fighter to clean him up or adjust that, or I'm going to have to stop it. What do you do action wise at that point? Like, is there a certain procedure where you can, maybe get a little extra reduction out of swelling, or, is there any different processings that you personally go through that could be different than others do to maybe give them some insight to help?
Well, no, I mean, I do the most every time for that fighter to get it down. I mean, it's not like I withhold and then, I got to give a little extra here. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
is there that panic mode that kicks in more or less is kind of what I'm asking. Like more or less what I'm asking is like, is there that panic mode to you where you're like, I have to fix this. I have to do whatever I can to, does that sometimes set in and help you? Or is that more of a, like a weighing thought in the back of your mind, like sometimes you think maybe it could, you could save this, as we discussed earlier.
Yeah. But to me, I just, the more traumatic it gets, the calmer I get because of my medical background, I think.
Okay.
I think, the more damage and the more pressure it is for me to get them fixed, the more calm, cool, and assertive I become. Like with bare knuckle, like when I was giving you the example of the hematoma and 5 different cuts, that wasn't just a made up example. That was actually the first fight out of the gate on this kid.
Oh, wow.
In the first round, he had a huge hematoma and 5 different cuts. And that was the first round, the first fight. And I kept him in that fight until they actually stopped it because they thought he had the orbital socket was fractured. It wasn't, but there was so much damage. They thought there was an orbital fracture going on there.
Yeah. I mean,
but yeah, you're like,
yeah,
going crap.
When they get going like, crazy like that, I mean, it you know, when they're in there and they're just doing this, they're just throwing at each other. They have no regard for their own personal safety at that point in time. They don't kind of realize, like, my eye's getting really bad.
Yeah, because they can't see out of it.
Or sometimes they do realize that, yeah, like you said, where they're like, oh, I can't see nothing out of this eye. I'm absolutely toasted, you know.
Yeah.
You got to figure something out.
Yeah, I've got pictures of that kid on my Facebook. He's not a kid, he's a grown man, but they're all kids to me.
Right.
But yeah, there's no quitting that kid for sure. But it tests your skills, and I like that. That's, you know, pretty much why I like.
Would you say that's your favorite part about the job? Is that it actually? Would you say that's your favorite part about the job? Is that it's not the same shit every day? It gives you a different test all the time.
Yes,
and that you can adjust, and it's you. It's you. I mean, you're like, hey, I can do this, and this on the fly. Is that what really drives you and makes that your favorite part of the job?
Yeah. Well, I'm what you call an adrenaline junkie anyways.
Cool.
So to me, if it doesn't tug on your blood pumper, it ain't worth doing. So, yeah, the more it gets my adrenaline going, the better it is. And the fact that you never know what you're going to get when you get in there, but you know it's going to be fucking good.
Hell yeah.
They're
all good. You can cuss as much as you want as long as you don't say anything that's, you know, frowned upon.
Yeah, so I mean, I love it. I love the excitement. I love not knowing what I'm stepping into, and it's like, let the chaos begin.
Yes. Yes. So it sounds kind of like you're like me and Jeff. You like to watch the fuckery go about, and then you like to fix it.
Yep, exactly. It's like, okay, watch what I can do.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So let's change notes here. I see that you have your AMA gear on there. Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
I do. AMA, it's going to be a new promotion coming out. It's going to be something that, you know, most have not seen yet. It will be about 4 MMA fights and then like a halftime concert, like the Super Bowl has. So well-known artist.
That's
we'll do like a halftime show, and then it'll have about 4 bare knuckle fights after that, and that's just the fight show. After that, there is a separate VIP party that we will rent out a local nightclub in whatever town we're in.
That's awesome.
For all the fighters and staff and the guests and the sponsors, and you buy a ticket to that because the actual artist will be there as well.
Daryl, get a hold of her. We want to fight for them people.
And the artist will do a couple songs there too, and then of course you'll get to hang out with them and do pictures and all that kind of promotion stuff.
It's awesome.
It's just going to be off the chain, but it's getting delayed a little bit because it takes a lot of money to pull this up. We can't do small arenas and have big artists. That's the problem we're running into.
Oh yeah. And that's the problem with Midwest shows. That's why they don't have shows in Illinois, because it costs so much. I mean, they do, but they don't, you know.
Right.
It costs so much money to get any kind of a venue anywhere. You're not going to get a venue that's anywhere that's going to give you enough money profit back wise without you having to do all these extra bells and whistles and hops and chops, and
we're finding out all kinds of stuff that we were like,
putting $1 million in to get 1.2 back. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's if something goes wrong, you know, that's pretty much, that's why you don't see any shows in Illinois anymore. I mean, there used to be, the Midwest used to be cracking. I mean, all the way from Iowa, all the way to Kentucky, it was cracking, you know, and it's quiet.
And with the venues too, is like these big venues, they won't even talk to you or rent them to you unless you have references. Well, if with your first show out, how are you going to have references?
That's right. Because, you know, none of the other promoters are going to be like, well, this is my buddy. And they're going to be like, this is my competition. I don't want you to even have him here if I'm going to have my venues here.
Right.
You know?
And the deposits they want are astronomical.
Yeah.
They're like
$50,000
$60,000.
$50,000 to $100,000 to deposit to rent the venue.
Just the deposit. And they're non-refundable too.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the case where you end up with a show like what happened with UFC, where it's like they got to move, you know, dates by a week or whatever. Well, I'm just struck out of that now, you know, because we've rented the venue. We've already did that, you know, so it's bad. And that's why a lot of the Midwest shows and stuff canceled. But, you know, I wish you guys the best of luck. It sounds like you have the premium plan going on for that. I mean, people love to watch MMA and people really love to watch bare knuckles. So, I mean,
and they really like music artists too.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you could go out there and you could get, you know, a great crowd and a great performance and, you know, have great fights. There are so many people out there that are going to jump ship right straight to a venue like that because it's controlled chaos.
Right.
It's not barbaric chaos like what some of these smaller promotions where you get fights in the crowd and, you know, fights outside the venue and, you know, they got it going on in a high school gymnasium or some stuff like that. And, you know, it's really a lucrative business. You have to be the top of your game or they, you know, and I feel like with what you're saying, it's great.
Yeah. And the biggest thing with us is that like the owner and myself we're really, I mean, I've been in the fight game a long time and there's some shady shit out there and a lot of backstab and dirty dealing stuff. And it's just like, he's not about that. I'm not about that. And we're just not going to tolerate that kind of stuff. So that's also what's making it harder to get this going.
Honest and upfront.
Because we'll take as long as, if we don't have a show till next year, I don't care. I will wait.
You want it to be the way you want it to be.
Exactly.
Yes. Just like with your Cutwoman duties. You want to make it you so that a way that this right here, this individual stands out as an individual. This is no longer a whole. It's an individual show. We are not MMA. We are AMA. You know, that's, and I totally get exactly what you guys are trying to do with that because that's, you know, it sounds like a new twist to a classic treat, you know?
Right. And we want integrity. We want integrity for our fighters. We want, I mean, we've even talked about the owners doing a side thing to get sponsors for our fighters. So they don't have to, I mean, they can spend more time training and stuff.
Right.
Because a lot of these sponsors, they like, well, they don't want to sponsor a huge amount of money for a promotion, but they have no problem sponsoring a fighter. Yeah. And so he thought, well, since when I come across these, why don't I set something up so I can just pass those down to the fighters?
We have a question for you on the screen right there. Can you see it? What does AMA stand for?
Everybody asks that. It's the owner's initials.
Awesome.
Can it be something exciting? And he's like, actually, it's just my initials. And I'm like, okay.
American martial arts. I mean,
well, it's bare knuckle too. So
yeah, because it's a martial art. Bare knuckle's a martial art.
How about American Mayhem Arts?
There you go. The American Mayhem Association.
There you go.
There you go. That's baller right there. That's boss.
Yep. I'll run it by him and see what he says.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just want to shout out. maybe contact my manager, get us a fight or two. You know, I mean,
yeah. That was another thing I told him. I said, you might want to rethink that whole sponsor and fighter things, because you're going to have to go through their managers and everybody's going to want a chunk and it's probably going to be a big old headache. And he goes, how come I can't just help people? And I'm like, because this is the fight industry, my dear.
Yeah. The Facebook user says, okay, whatever, as long as he's your boss and his checks don't bounce, they can call it whatever they like, I guess.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean,
it's his company.
You can have a Foot Locker and call it Two Guys in a Shoe. If you guys are pumping out $1 million worth of product a month, it don't matter.
Call it 2 A's and an M. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, there's multiple ways you can skin a cat, you know, so.
Yeah. As long as everybody's happy, that's all I care about. Everybody's getting paid.
Oh, is
Can
Jeff
you guys
coming
hear
back?
me?
We can hear you, but we cannot see you.
All right, that's fine. I have a quick question. A good question. So, with all the Cutman and Cutwoman's job, what was the most exciting moment with Stitch working with him? Because I had interviewed him like a few years ago, and he seems an amazing guy. He works, and he's a good person to work with. How did that feel to work with him?
It's awesome. I've worked with him in Invicta, and then we went to Greece together. For the International Cutman's Association's hand wrapping championships.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was fun.
And how did that go? How did the hand wrapping championships go? Did you guys compete in that, or did you guys?
All the top, supposedly all the top cutmen from all the countries competed against each other, and they did a MMA wrap and a boxing wrap.
That's good.
No,
that's good.
I have another
fourth
question.
in the world, in case you were wondering.
Oh my God.
So in mixed martial arts, generally speaking, the referee has the final say on the stop of the fight. Yes, the ringside doctor can come in and say he don't want to fight no more. The referee has the final say. Have you ever thought to yourself, why are you letting this guy continue? Why? I mean, in a personal situation where you were there, have you ever thought to yourself, why are you letting this guy continue? What is going on?
No, not for a cut. No.
Okay. Because I, like I said, I've seen some nasty, nasty cuts. And I mean, there's people that do defend themselves, and there's those guys that, like we said, they just keep on eating them like they're French fries. Well,
a lot of the times people don't understand, a lot of lacerations can look horrendous, but they're really not that bad. So like the Lawler fight when he got his lip split open.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody thought, oh my God, but you know what?
That was not bad at all.
Easy fix.
That was not bad at all. I agree with you there fully.
When his lip was split completely open like that, everybody freaked out.
Perfectly too. Yeah. So it can be sewed right back together.
Yeah, it's such an easy fix.
I was about 16 years old. I used to help my uncle on a garbage route, right? I threw an old junk motorcycle helmet into the back of the truck. It comes shooting out of the back of the truck and hit me in the face. Okay. And it split my lip on the inside all the way up inside into my nose. The doctor went and sewed that up on the inside with dissolving stitches, I guess.
Yeah. I had that same split Robbie had from here all over here.
And I mean, it's weird because like when you're cut like that on the inside, when it's not something that you physically are seeing like that, it seems to be like it just kind of like it almost stings. It's not like it's not like it burns or hurts. Like if for instance, if you cut yourself deep enough, with a knife or whatever on your arm or leg or whatever, chainsaw, whatever you got, that burns. But like you physically feel the burn. You don't feel a sting like what you do when it's in your mouth and stuff. I don't know. Maybe there's some differential between the sensory nerves there or what, but like it's two completely total different feelings. And swelling is another thing. When you feel the swelling and you can feel that the blood is starting to build up in there versus actually bleeding, it's weird. Like it's almost like a hematoma is internal bleeding of sorts, but it's weird because like it doesn't feel like you're bleeding.
Right. Well, a lot of times people, they call any type of swelling on the face and stuff, they automatically call it a hematoma when it technically it's not always a hematoma. Hematoma is bleeding. Hema means blood. A lot of times it's lymphatic swelling. And that's lymphatic fluid rushing to the area. Our lymphatic system and our is like our little army dudes of our body rushing to an injury to fix it.
Is that like the clear liquid that you get in cauliflower ear? Okay. I
Or
wanted to make sure I was.
When you get cut, lymphatic fluid goes to that injury, and then when it starts drying, it starts building a matrix, to build a scab and heal itself. But the clear fluid can have swelling, and people just call it a hematoma, but it's really not. And if you see somebody like real lightly rubbing that type of swelling, that's okay. Because lymphatic fluid will just absorb.
Dissipate?
Now you see some,
Will it dissipate if you slightly rub it?
Real lightly. But if you do that with a hematoma and you're taking your inswell and rubbing it, that's horrible when you see cut men do that, because you're taking a hematoma and pushing it into healthy tissue, and you can create a bigger hematoma.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I see these cut men doing that. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
But
I've seen people get their lips like that, where they get hit in the lip, and then the next thing you know, their top lip's as big as their bottom lip, and then the next thing you know, their top lip's this big. And you could take, and it looks like you could drain that with a hypodermic needle, but is that blood or is that the lymphatic fluid that is inside of that lip? When it's swelling like that, I mean, it probably would be hard to tell at that, unless you could see that it was, turning colors from the blood. I mean, it would probably be very hard to differentiate on whether or not that was lymphatic swelling or if it was an actual hematoma. And a lot of people, like the contusions, when you see people get contusions too, people would be like, well, that's a hematoma. That's not a hematoma. That's a contusion.
Yeah. The best thing you can do for swelling is just direct pressure, especially if you don't know the difference between them. Just direct pressure is the best thing for swelling. Direct pressure is the best thing for bleeding.
And I've got one question for you here. What is the worst injury as a cut person that you have ever dealt with?
Just some deep cuts. I mean, to me, worst injury is probably different than anybody else being in the medical field. Like some people will say, oh, I saw somebody's arm get pulled out of its socket and was just hanging there. That would be a worse injury to somebody else. But to me, that's not a big deal. We just took them backstage and relocated it.
Yep.
But to me, like a cut that's very wide and to the bone. I had a boxer who had a flap laceration. His eyebrow went up here and then back down here, and the whole eyebrow was hanging down over his eye.
Oh.
And I was in the 4th round, so I'm like, stop the fight. I'm real tight with his family. They're both brothers box, and it's like, we're not going to go any further. It's the 4th round. It's no contest, so it doesn't go against him. And with a flap laceration, one hit to that and you're going to rip his whole eyelid off.
Yeah. I mean, that could potentially just go all the way down and just peel it like an orange.
Right. So that one was pretty bad. All the fat adipose tissue, which is fat.
Yeah.
Meat hanging down and everything. That was pretty bad. But a lot of other fights, a lot of other injuries to the face and the head and the scalp, like with bare knuckle, people think, oh, those are horrible injuries, but they just bleed a lot. A lot of facial and scalp lacerations bleed a lot more than other places on the body, and that's what makes them look so much.
Well, yeah, your
than they are.
blood's a lot closer to your skin in those places because there's no meat.
Right. And
there's no meat.
That's why with the whole bare knuckle thing, before it became a thing, I told everybody, I was like, bare knuckle is going to be so huge because everybody wants to see banging and blood, and that's what they'll get with bare knuckle, and that's what they'll pay for. Your casual fan doesn't realize jiu-jitsu is an actual chess match on the ground. They just see two sweaty guys rolling around, and they don't want to watch that because they don't have the knowledge of how intense and how much skill it takes to outmaneuver, on the ground, and they get bored with it just out of sheer not having the knowledge.
I agree 100% because you could take somebody like Gordon Ryan and put him in there against that person, whoever that person's favorite fighter is, and you know exactly what's going down.
Right.
That's going to be a real bad night at the office for that guy's favorite fighter, regardless of who it is. Just because they don't play that game of chess. They don't understand. They're playing checkers still. They're playing Chinese checkers. They ain't even playing chess. They're they're in a whole different board, you know. They don't even it's different, you know. And like I agree with you on that. The bare knuckle, that's what people are paying for. They're paying to see knockouts, they're paying to see blood, they're paying to see swelling, and they're paying to see people go in there and just throw wildly as much as they can, as quick as they can.
Right.
And I try to tell every one of the bare knuckle fighters that we get on here that does not work. That does not work. Bare knuckle is built for people that do fencing style boxing. They're in and out, they're in and out, they're in and out, they're in and out, they're in and out. So they don't get busted up. And
it's a total different style of fighting. That's when I was trying to get the commission in Oklahoma to understand that they said, well, we're just going to end up suspending everybody for broken hands. I'm like, no, you're not. It's a totally different style of fighting. They know what they can throw and they know what they can't. They know how to change their whole offensive style of fighting. They're not going to throw with all their might right off the gate if they learn the skill of bare knuckle.
Yeah, if they're throwing as hard as they can, they're hitting you in your body. They're not trying to hit you in your head because they're going to break their wrist.
Right.
It's not even going to break their hand. It's going to break their wrist because the impact is going to be so great. Yeah, you know what? It might put a couple knuckles back in your wrist even, you know?
But they want to fight another fight. They want to fight another day. So they're going to learn how to fight the bare knuckle style of fighting. Just like if you want to fight Muay Thai or you want to, whatever style you want to fight, you learn that style.
They throw those pillow punches. Those pillow punches tear you up. They tear your skin apart. They rip your skin apart. Well, not just because it's your knuckles, because you got that wrap on. That wrap will tear the hell out of your skin.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of these guys don't understand. You don't have to punch somebody as hard as you can to bust them up. You don't have to punch them as hard as you can to knock them out. You got to catch them at an angle. Just like we seen the other night on UFC. Did you watch UFC 299?
I got parts of it.
Did you watch the great big Taekwondo fighter? The heavyweight guy, Robelis de Spain.
No, I didn't watch that one.
Okay, he is, I want to say 6'6" or 6'8", and he's a heavyweight. Okay, he was moving backwards. I mean, 100% going backwards, falling off on a funky level, just flat and shut dude's lights out. Shut dude's lights out while he was going backwards, falling away from the punch. So, you know, bare knuckle, you really don't have to hit them that hard when somebody can do that in a glove while they're falling backwards, literally tumbling over backwards, and hit the guy and still shit can him, knocked him completely out unconscious. And, you know, he was moving all the way back at a walking pace because he was falling, you know. So I could just say that with bare knuckle, you've got a much harder target. Your hand is so much harder than that glove. So when you're just tapping that person, you're tearing them up. And that's where a great cut person comes in because, you know, the swelling, the bleeding, you know, the hematomas, the contusions, all that good shit. It's basically like the sport doesn't exist without people such as yourself to come in there and rescue the fighters.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, if you have bare knuckle shows and you don't have professional cut people on hand, you're asking for trouble.
100%, 100%. I mean, it's bad enough out here with guys that are semi-pro cutmen, you know, or semi-pro, even fighters. You know, they don't think the same way as an actual legitimate professional does. You can have anybody come cut your grass, but when you have a professional come cut your grass, it stands out. It looks different. Right. It feels different. It acts different.
Exactly.
You know, you can have anybody come trim your trees. They can drop the shit on your house just the same as anybody. But you have a professional come out and do it. And it's a uniform, efficient job that is projected to go out the way that it is expected to. And that is why we have people such as yourself and Stitch and Craig and others like that come in and exactly. Thank you for doing what you do. That is exactly what I was getting at right there. Thank you for doing what you do, for protecting these fighters and helping these fighters and other promotions and, you know, even other individuals that are involved in the fight game. You know, it goes full circle sometimes, and it's great when you see it go full circle. It doesn't always work that way, but whenever it goes full circle and, you know, you get people that started from ground zero and you get them in the position that you're in now where you're like, we're starting our own promotion. This is what we're doing. This is going to be us. You know, that is what I consider full circle. From starting from where you're at the beginning, you know, the humblest. And then you go out to where you can show other individuals how to do this. Yeah. You know, that is top tier in my mind.
Back in the day, I couldn't get anybody to even speak to me simply because I was a female.
And now look at you.
But just because I was a girl.
Now they see you. They see you.
Yeah. Now they're afraid of you because they're like, oh, that's a girl. Uh-oh. That's what it is. That is 100% why they would be like that in the first place, because they're like, you know, they're scared for their own safety in that situation. That right there should have just told you from the beginning, this is what I need to do, you know, because exactly all eyes on you, because, you know, that it's one of those things. Like, if there isn't a billion of these individuals that do this, you could be that one individual that starts that trend, that breaks that cycle, that makes a new mending or beginning for others, you know, pave the way. Like, you know, like they said, like Ronda Rousey was the first woman to fight in the UFC. Now look at what we got. Look at what we got. We got 3 divisions full, stacked to the top, you know, in the UFC. And it's just great, you know, when you see it all go full circle.
Oh, yeah.
But we're coming up on about 53 minutes now, so we'll probably go ahead and do another question. We'll do another question or two, and then we'll go ahead and let you get out of here. So basically, to encompass everything, you're going to start your own new program with all these other individuals, your own new promotion, and it sounds like you guys have a great ground game plan for this. You know, like you've got the works already intricately weaved, and you're just waiting to pull the ends so that way everything's tied up. And, you know, it sounds like you guys are going to do great things if not this year, then in the next few. I mean, so we expect to see some big things out of you guys. So as soon as you guys get a date and everything, you let us know. We'd be more than glad to have you and your partners come on, give us the rundown, give us the information. You know, maybe we could hook you guys up with some promoters or some, you know, people that have other individuals that fight that want to come onto your show, you know. I mean, good backs scratch other good backs, and that's what we
Yeah.
like to do here. We like to, keep everything as a whole, and we like to make sure that everybody's interworking, with everybody to keep everything going. I mean, we really appreciate
Absolutely.
you taking your time to come out here and explain to the people and us what it is that drives you and what you do. We really appreciate you taking your time to share that with us this evening.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank
And
you.
you had one of my fighters on not too long ago.
Oh, who did we
Alfred.
have? Alfred?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
Train.
definitely.
She came down it. Yeah, she came down to Phoenix. I was trying to come to that fight, but I couldn't get there. So.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So
We
do you
definitely-
have? Sorry.
What, Jeff? Sorry, go ahead, Jeff. It wasn't coming through over here because you're kind of off and in, but go ahead, buddy.
That's good. So with being a Cutwoman, do you guys have any sponsors or anything that sponsor you guys to help you with your trips or whatnot?
Yeah, we get sponsors. I don't have any at the moment just because I haven't had time to go out and hustle any. I've been so busy with other things I've got going on. I just finished doing a movie and I do some acting too. I didn't mention that, but I do acting and some modeling and then some tattooing and I do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, keep yourself
So I
busy.
just haven't had time, but yeah, we like having sponsors too. Cutmen don't get paid all that much. We do it more because we love it and we like to get paid more, but unfortunately a lot of promotions don't see the value in cut people, especially since there's a lot of people out there that just want to get cage signed and say, oh, we'll do it and for a couple $100 and the promotions are like, okay, sure, because they don't put a lot of them sometimes just don't see the value that a professional cut person brings, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I can totally understand exactly what you're saying there. Nowadays, people just don't find the value in the things that they really need to find the value in. I mean, without cut people, without ringside individuals that are licensed and specific at the things that they do, the show can't and won't go on. And that's what I think a lot of these people fail to realize.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with your yard, you can only pull so many blades of grass out before you have a big ass bare spot. I mean, and that's really what it is. And then when you end up with that big bare spot, everything else starts to die off with it. I mean, without the cut men and women and the ringside physician individuals for the safety of the fighters and the coaches sometimes, because they like to get in there and get their ass kicked by the other fighter. I've seen that a few times. Without the people that protect those people, it's not even fun.
What's funny is that it's normal for boxers to have their own private cut people, but like most of my fighters, my private fighters, are MMA people that hire me for their team. And it's funny because most MMA people don't hire their own private cut people.
They want it done
to
right.
be part of their team.
That's right. That's like, that's like whenever I go and I go through and I do all my blood works and all, get my MRIs and all that good. I go through one doctor. One doctor. I trust this one doctor because he sends me to one place. Right. I get everything I need taken care of. It goes directly to him. I can literally get it to the promotion within 24 hours, within 12 hours, really, of the time that I get the blood work done.
Right.
Like that's why I fucks with them.
Yeah. So like even these fight promotions like LFA and all them, they have their own cut men, but my fighters like, nope, I got my own. Personal
preference.
Yeah.
That's it. Again, it goes back to anybody can mow your yard, but it ain't gonna be the same, And that's one of those things. Like I said, we really appreciate you for stepping in and doing the things that you do to keep the sport clean and healthy the way it is.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love what I do.
We love the sport, you know, and it's really, it's people like you, people like me, people like Jeff, people like, you know, basically Stitch and you know, Craig and Melvin Macklin, guys like that take care of the fighters. They make sure that everybody is where they're supposed to be, doing what they're supposed to be, and get it taken care of the right way, so that way everybody goes home happy, healthy, and safe at the end of the day.
All right.
Everybody's got a family.
One of my tips to fighters, I tell them all the time to help them not get cut, is make moisturizing your face part of your workout routine every day. Because moisturized skin will not cut as easy. Well, yeah, but not everybody can grow a beard. But moisturized skin does not cut as easy as dry skin. Dry skin will pop real quick.
That is true. If you go outside and you wear your boots all day long and you're real sweaty, and you come inside and you take your boots off and your feet's all pruny, you ain't going to cut your feet because they're so hydrated. You're not going to. You're going to bruise it. Probably not going to just cut it, you know, and that 100% makes exact sense to what you're saying. The hydrated skin, it will swell. It will swell, but it won't generally cut open as near as bad. And
it won't cut near as quick as dry skin.
How do you feel about the fighters that like they get super Vaseline? They look like they jumped out of a freaking puddle of baby oil.
Well, to tell you the truth, that can bite them in the ass, because when you're getting hit and stuff, that Vaseline can get rubbed right in their eyeballs and they won't be able to see shit. Yep. So if they get goops of Vaseline all over their face, it can bite them in the ass.
Definitely. I just, you know, I personally, yes, I know this. I just kind of wanted, you know, your insight from a professional, so that way kind of everybody else can understand this too. Because we see these guys that they'll go out there and their cut man's got a whole glove full of Vaseline, or their corner, and it's like, dude, you're going to get that in your nostril, or you're going to get it in your eye, you're going to get it in your ear or something. It's going to affect you negatively. You're going to get it on your body, and then you're going to go to try to choke that guy, and he's going to go right through your hands.
Yeah, and people don't realize that. They think it's going to be some kind of huge advantage, and it's not. Especially if you get in your eye, you're not going to be able to see. Your vision is going to be so impaired that you're going to be sitting there rubbing your eye.
It's going to burn like hell, because it's not just Vaseline, buddy. You're sweating too.
Yeah, it's going to be salty Vaseline.
You got that sweaty Vaseline in your eye, and it's an oil now. That sweat's bonded with that. It's an oil now. It ain't coming out of your eye until you rinse it. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to get some insight on that, because you know I see that all the time. People
when I see that your opponent, he'll like do this.
Yeah,
they know what they're doing.
You know, or you see the guy and they'll keep going back like this. They'll keep coming like this. They'll come in and they'll do this. They'll wipe their face mid exchange. Mid exchange, you're wiping your face. You're focusing on wiping your face. You're not focusing on that dude that's across from you trying to kick the shit out of you. You're focusing on wiping your face.
Right.
Because you've got so much Vaseline in your eyebrow that it's making you blink, because you keep getting it on your eyelashes that touch your eyebrows.
Exactly.
And people don't get that. You'll see that great big cut that's in there. And yeah, they fill it with Vaseline, but when they fill it with Vaseline, they're supposed to go over it like that. And they don't. They just wipe that sumbitch and then just walk away. And then you see a guy that's got like a Nike check mark of freaking Vaseline on his face, and you're like, bro, what are you doing? Why? It's not going to help you. What are you going to do? You're going to spread that shit in the cut while you're out there in the fight, keep yourself from bleeding. Well, we just came up, we just eclipsed our hour mark a couple of minutes ago. So we're going to go ahead and do our sign offs, and
okay.
We will let you get back to your daily. Is there anybody that you'd like to shout out, or anybody that particular comes to mind that you'd just like to even say hi to?
Well, I just like to shout out our whole AMA team. Love you guys. Hang in there. We're gonna get this done. Don't worry. Just be patient. It's not easy building an empire. But we'll get it done. Don't worry.
Definitely, definitely. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to come in and talk with us. As soon as you get a date set for that show, we'd love to have you back.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you
You
very
guys
much.
take care.
We appreciate you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, guys, you might not be able to see me because I'm having problems with videos. You might be able to hear my voice. I apologize for
We
technical
can hear
issues.
you.
My co-host Zachary did a good job, awesome job on this interview. I appreciate you stepping it up. So,
Show must go on, just like she said earlier, boss. The show must go on. We got to get it taken care of, you know.
That's right. So our sponsors, let's give a shout out to D&D Custom Baits. Makes bait, quality baits, all kinds of colors and everything. And what happens when you buy this baits?
D&D Baits has custom lures that are made for your conditions, ladies and gentlemen. You get a hold of Landon. He has custom colors, scents, different combinations and everything that he can basically take your thoughts, put it on his works, and give you exactly what you want in your favorite color or scent or design. Get a hold of Landon from D&D Baits and catch more fish. We also have the Twisted Witches Stitches, custom tapestry and design business. Custom designs made by hand by my wife, Tiffany. We've got basically anything that you could imagine that you can come up with a pattern for that can be crocheted. She can do it. So hit up the Twisted Witches Stitches and see what we can get going for you.
And our local Arizona food truck. It's here in Pinal County, Arizona. Churrolicious, Arizona. If you got some sweet tooth, you and your family, your kids, or loved ones, make sure you go to the Pinal County State Fair this weekend. They're going to be there. So go there and buy you some sweets and get high on that stuff. All right. And we also have Just Blaze Clothing Company. Be the first on your block to get Just Blaze. They have a bunch of t-shirts. They have hats. They have other stuff that they make products. They can put your brand logo on there and stuff. You can't see my shirt right now, but just go out there, check out their website, give them a like and follow. And we have our new sponsor that showed up about a month and a half ago, Cafecito Banquet. They make those quality cups like the coffee cups. Put your own logo, your family's picture, your name, those characters, cartoons, whatever you guys want to have on there. Go check their page out, give them a like and a follow. And next is my partner's favorite one, Miranda Maverick.
Prowler Pickles, ladies and gentlemen. They have multiple different flavors and multiple different sizes of containers that you can get to enjoy. Hit up prowlerpickles.com.
And I want to give a special thanks to taking the time and effort coming on our show. Morgan, Cutwoman Morgan, make sure you guys check her page out. Give her a follow. She's an awesome Cutwoman. And they got some great things coming up here soon. That might not be this year, might be next year, but check them out. AMA Fighting Championship. From my co-host to me, thank you for watching a full broadcast show. Have a good day. Peace.